While I would like the Avs to win a few preseason games, it's not really that big of a deal. More concerning is I'm starting to worry about their power play systems beyond just its preseason. Avs lose to the Minnesota Wild 4-3. First things first, the Avs did hit 3 posts in this game, 2 from Ryan Graves alone. So a couple inches of difference from just his shots, and the Avs could have easily won it. Also, the Wild hit a post as well. So really racking up those preseason posts now. We will get to the Avs power play issues in a minute, but first, the Avs decide to put themselves in a hole early. The Avs win a faceoff clean here. Mark Alt gets the puck and has plenty of room to go in behind his net. Even gets a little bit of a pick play from Anton Lindholm, giving him a ton of space and time to make a play with this puck. He skates into the space, which is fine, has his head up, which is good, but as he goes to make the pass, he flubs it and fires it right into the Minnesota player. It redirects, is kept in nicely by Ryan Hartman. Avs are on the back foot now, have no one covering the entire far side of the ice. A couple of quick passes, it ends up back on Matt Dumba's stick at the point as the Avs overcommit, panicking back. Dumba, he's pretty good at the offense thing, fires a big bomb that gets all the way through and in. Much like Game 1, the Avs defense really struggled here because there simply wasn't really any NHL regulars in the lineup. And Minnesota iced the majority of an NHL roster in this one as well. So a lot of lineup disparity to put into consideration here. Realistically, Alt and Lindholm aren't really playing for an NHL job anyway, but you did see Kevin Connauton, Ryan Graves, and Connor Timmins all in this game as well. While Connor Timmins had a great game and Ryan Graves had a couple of posts, everything else was kind of a struggle. So the rest of this game, Minnesota basically decided to just straight goon it up. I mean, they ended up taking a ton of penalties throughout it. The Avs got absolutely crushed through the first 10 minutes of the game, putting just one shot on goal, but after that, things started to tilt more their way with the help of some of those penalties. And that's the one good thing I have to say about the power play is they actually shot the puck this time. After failing on their first attempt, a play where Daniel Renouf ends up checking Matt Dumba into the end boards, it looked clean to me. You could maybe make an argument that it was a little bit high, maybe caught a Dumba in the chin a little bit, but certainly nothing too malicious or crazy. And then Foligno decides to jump Renouf from behind for no reason. He just did, because preseason reasons. So yeah, Foligno got 4 and 10 for that. Renouf got 2 minutes because reasons. And the Avs got their second power play of the game. And it started to become apparent that the power play just wasn't going to work. On one hand, there is the quality of talent versus the quality of competition here. The Avs certainly weren't icing their A game as far as the power play was concerned, and they were going up against a much stronger Minnesota PK. With that said, they went 0 for 8 on the night, and when you're up a man, that talent level shouldn't be as much of an issue. We're not talking about the biggest disparity in talent here. The Avs' first unit consisted of JT Compher, Andrei Burakovsky, Shane Bowers, Ty Lewis, and Connor Timmins. That's 2 NHL regulars, in fact 2 that are likely to play on the Avs' power play this season. A high-end draft pick in Shane Bowers and another high-end draft pick in Connor Timmins. So really, you get 8 cracks at the power play, including a 5-on-3 later in the game. You should be able to get at least 1. And sure, players like Mark Alt and Kevin Connauton did get some time on the power play as well, with the power play run through the defenseman as the trigger man, and that's the problem I have here. The talent is what it is. You have to be able to succeed with the system based on the talent you have. And right now, the system for the Avs isn't helping the talent. It seems to be making it harder. This is a problem we saw a ton last year for the Avs. They weren't getting it to their forwards. They weren't getting it to their best players and allowing them to work on the power play. They were sat around the perimeter, passing the puck until someone felt like they had to shoot and then taking one. Legitimately threatening chances were few and far between. The Avs had 2 or 3 across the entire game on the power play, and that simply isn't enough. Now, if this was one bad game, you maybe chalk it up to the talent on the roster a little bit more, or just a bad game, but the Avs are now 0 for 17 in the preseason across 3 games, including one that had all of the big guns in it. And if you go back to the rookie tournament as well, they're now 0 for 36. Yes, the rookie tournament is very different, but top to bottom, the Avs are going to want to run the same power play systems in the NHL, in the AHL, and it's not working. So yes, I have no doubt when the Avs get the big guns in there, McKinnon, Landeskog, and whether it's Rantanen or Burakovsky or whoever on that other side, will simply be able to be good enough to force goals to happen at times on the power play. But it's just not easy enough. The systems aren't helping them. I'm not a genius. I don't completely know what the answer is here, but I would like to see the Avs try something different with the systems. If I were to take a stab at it, I would certainly have more movement, particularly from the players playing off of the wing. The Avs rarely have players cutting to the net. They rarely are trying to drag defenders around the ice. It's just very stagnant. With that rant out of the way, the Avs escaped the first period only down 1, which is pretty decent considering they really got dominated in the period. And at the start of the second period, Devan Dubnyk decided to give the Avs a freebie. A large board battle happens along roughly the half wall here. The Avs should win it 4 players to 2, and they do. It squirts out to the middle of the ice, and nice recognition by Ty Lewis here to collect this puck and just fire it up the ice into open space as the Wild have crashed in late, committing all 5 players into the offensive zone. Bowers sees the play develop and just takes off up the ice as well, and it works out nicely as Bowers is able to win the race here. It does end up having Dubnyk come out and playing this puck, which, if Dubnyk plays it correctly, would have been fine for the Wild. All he had to do was clear this and get it away from any Avalanche players. He could have returned to his net and problem negated. He fails to do this, flips it right into Bowers, who is able to knock it down, collect it, and get his head up as he's coming from the corner. He sees a Ty Lewis sweeping into the middle of the ice. Bowers makes a brilliant pass right through to Lewis in the slots, and Lewis just simply has to slide it past Dubnyk as he is not fully recovered. This was Shane Bowers' first preseason game of the year, first preseason pro game ever, actually, and he made a statement. He was one of the Avs' best forwards in this game. Consistent, solid, smart play goes a long way at the NHL level, and that's what Bowers brings. Plus, the kid can skate pretty darn well. It was not one of the strengths that he was billed to have, but it might be a little underrated, to be honest. So what looked like a nice way to start the second period, putting the Avs right back into a tie game, would immediately be negated. The Wild would march down and score less than a minute later. Avs just get caught in a bad change here. Brad Hunt nails a stretch pass up the ice to the near side and Matt Zuccarello, and honestly a little surprised Zuccarello didn't just take this one in himself. He had all the room in the world to just skate right in on Francouz here, but as the Avs try and hustle back to recover from this weak change, you're going to see not just 3, but the 4th player in Eric Condra as well, all puck watching. Bit of a problem to have both Tynan and Condra puck watching here, and neither committing quite enough to the seam pass. It comes right on through for the seam pass, and you have Matt Dumba unloading once again here. Not a great situation. Francouz actually does manage to get over. This puck squirts through him and ends up hitting off the post. But not only has the Avs defense puck watch, they've completely forgotten to cover any rebound on this side of the ice. And look at that, there's a Jason Zucker waiting right there to bang in the rebound. Honestly, that one's pretty easy to correct. Just have a better change. Make sure you're not getting off when the Wild are in full possession of the puck and opting not to change. A situation that's pretty easily avoidable. The bad news is the Avs would trail for the rest of the game. The good news is they would show much better puck possession and play when playing from behind. and would draw a ton of penalties out of a mostly NHL rostered Wild team. Just one power play goal out of the 8 opportunities they have, and they very well could have won. Instead, they watch chances fall to the wayside until Minnesota inevitably takes advantage of another mistake. The Avs actually have numbers up the ice here. Connaughton is going to jump in and pinch hard. Ty Lewis is going to take a shot from a bit further out than I would have liked. He had a lot more room to skate into, really. That shot ends up getting deflected and coming to the near corner. Great. Connaughton's there to challenge, except for that he just straight up loses this puck battle clean. Hardly puts anything into it. To be fair to him, he is still coming off taking that puck to the face earlier in the month, so a little bit of a pass there. At the same time, this is the skate of Ty Lewis over here, who's just going to go for a change, despite being one of the 2 Avs players back, maybe necessary to prevent a counterattack. There you see Lewis getting off, the second man a little slow to get on. All of a sudden, it's a 2-on-1 for the Wild up the other way. Back is Dan Renouf, who plays the pass. Stahl is given a perfect lane to walk in. Fires a shot that honestly should have been saved, but it slips through Francouz's 5-hole. This is sloppy preseason hockey. It's just kind of what it is. I can live with that. It isn't something that's a recurring theme. It was not a great game for Francouz. That's certainly not the best thing in the world. Would really like to see him get into more preseason games and get a bit more comfortable. Down 2, the Avs really start coming hard for the rest of the period. Martin Kaut eventually gets jumped by Nick Seeler because Seeler decides he wants to beat someone up. Avs get a power play out of that, which they, of course, do not score on, but it does give them a bit of momentum. And in the dying seconds of the period, the Avs learn a nice little lesson that you get pucks on net and good things happen. First off, nice work by AJ Greer on this play, winning a puck battle in the far corner. His shot attempt here is pretty errant, but it is a very good pinch by Dan Renouf, going down, getting this puck, and keeping the play alive. He finds Eric Condra down in the zone, who's just going to give it right on back up the boards to Renouf, who is ready. Meanwhile, AJ Greer going right to the dirty areas here, trying to help out. Renouf doesn't think much about this one. He's just going to try and put this shot on net. This is where Greer, tying up the man in front, comes in. It's not a great shot. It ends up deflecting off of Greer and bouncing around in front, but that does keep Dubnyk from being able to control it, and a crashing Megna is able to find it and just scoop this one in. It only took 2.5 games for me to actually get to review some more Avs highlights, so that's nice. Look, if you want to have success shooting the puck from the point using your defenseman to get shots in, first, they have to be able to get it into the net area. Second, you have to have guys like Greer in there battling to create chaos. And third, you need pigeons to be able to scoop up the garbage and finish plays. All 3 of those things came together on that play, and that's something we don't see happen often enough. As a kicker, it happens with 1 second left in the period. Getting a goal to end the period, always nice. The third period was just a mess because Minnesota just had a parade to the penalty box, and that pretty much meant the Avs shot themselves in the foot for the entire period. At this point, I kind of want the Avs to continue failing to score on the power play to set a preseason record or something. Anyway, long story short, as the Avs failed to convert on all of their chances, and then Minnesota buries them. Remember what I said about not getting shots through? Well, JT Compher is going to fire one off that gets blocked in front and rebounds out hard, and just off screen up here, Matt Zuccarello, just coming out of the penalty box. The Wild just throw this sucker up the ice. The Avs are still in the zone. It's a clean breakaway, and Zuccarello just straight dumpsters Frank. So Avs would go on to lose the game. Don't really care. Still preseason. The roster wasn't great, but we saved the best for last. Connor Timmins had a very, very solid game up to this point, but near the end of the third, he put an exclamation mark on it. Some nice skating and puck work by Megna here. He actually gets all 5 Minnesota defenders puck watching on him before finding Timmins up at the top of the zone, and then Timmins shows off the skill of why he was drafted 32nd overall. He takes this puck, he has tons of space, he knows the forward is going to try and challenge him quickly, so he sets up the fake slapper, gets him suckered in going for the block, cuts outside, is able to beat him clean. Once he gets around, he's able to get the body position, protect the puck, get it away from any stick checks, and then set himself up. He can collect it again, pick his spot, and fire this puck in on Dubnyk, and it is a fantastic wrist shot. The kid is good, man. I certainly wasn't expecting his game to be this strong given how long he had been out with injury before this season. But at this point, through 2 games, he's been the best of any of the Avs defenders battling for those positions. I know it seems a little bit crazy to give him a spot on the opening night roster, but if you give him 1 or 2 more preseason games and he continues to look this good, how can you not? Either way, my main positive takeaway from this game is absolutely Connor Timmins, and then, of course, the main negative being the power play. We are halfway through preseason now, so from here on out, you would expect to see the Avs roster lean much more NHL heavy. I'm sure they will get some of these players rotating through what they look like in a more NHL-style game, but either way, you can expect an uptick in the level of play from here on out. These first 3 games didn't really matter at all for the most part, but these last 3, while they don't count for the record, you want to see things starting to come together, especially that power play. That is the end of this long preseason game video review. Thank you for watching, and as always, a special thank you to all of my contributors on both PayPal and Patreon. I appreciate all the names you see on screen, and if you like content like this, consider throwing a couple bucks my way in the description. I'm Rudo3, and there's just no reason to jump people in the preseason. Wild, what are you doing?
Avalanche time, come on.